पूज्य श्री कमलेश पटेल दाजी कहते हैं, तुम ही प्रयोग हो, प्रयोग करता तुम और परिणाम भी तुम ही हो। वे एक ओजस्वी आदर्श हैं। पूर्वी हृदय और पश्चिमी मन का एक आदर्श सम्मिश्रण प्रदर्शित करते हुए एक आध्यात्मिक उत्प्रेरक के रूप में वे जीवन के सभी क्षेत्रों और पार्श्वभूमि के लोगों से जुड़ने में सक्षम है। विशेष रूप से आज के युवाओं पर ध्यान केंद्रित करते हैं। उनका आज यहाँ होना बेलगांव के लिए और विशेष रूप से हम सब के लिए एक सौभाग्य है। अब मैं पद्म भूषण श्री कमलेश पटेल जी को आमंत्रित करती हूँ, जो हमारे साथ अपने अद्भुत विचार साझा करें।
पूज्य गुरुदेव को प्रणाम। हमारे मौजूद प्रेजेंट वन ऑफ द ग्रेटेस्ट सन्स ऑफ इंडिया और भारत माता पूजनीय माननीय मेरे बड़े भाई डॉक्टर मोहन भागवत जी, सिस्टर डॉक्टर जोग, my respect to Shri Maruti ji, and so many dignitaries present here who are ardent followers of Honorable Ramchandra Dattatreya Ranade ji, our Gurudeva. I must first of all express my gratitude for inviting Sri Ramchandra Mission on such a splendid occasion of celebrating 100 years of establishment of Academy of Comparative Studies on Philosophy and Religion. Biggest challenge with such programs, such academies, unlike science. In the field of science, we can measure, we can compare the results. If paracetamol is not working, try and find out how ibuprofen can do the job. Things like that. The results are obvious. In the field of philosophy, field of religion, field of psychology, cosmology, what Dr. Ranade was so fond of, none of these topics are measurable. None of them. How can you measure the development of kindness, compassion, love, knowledge in the psyche of a human being who is merely practicing or going through this tapasya? What are the indicators that will give us the signal that this philosophy is better than the other philosophy? And when it comes to better or worse, then the philosophy is looking for a simple answer. What is the absolute? Do we have to really study all these things, or derive some inferences from our bygone days literature, Vedas and Upanishads, Gitas, and many other holy literatures that we have been so proud of, but no one wants to follow it. Same thing, I am afraid to say, is the case with R.D. Ranade also. By and large, Indian psyche is soaked in orthodoxy and dogmas. He fought against it. Ranade fought against orthodoxy. They say blind faith is as bad as a person who does not believe in God. Both are dangerous. Is my belief good enough? When I say I believe in God, is it good enough? When I used to ask my mother, माँ तो बताओ मुझे कि भगवान है कि नहीं है, तो बोले कि हाँ है. What is the proof? Why are you saying God is there? She said, my mother taught me. My grandmother taught me. Our religion says so. But Ma, what about you? She will get upset in a very smiling way that I'm asking some fundamental questions. At the same time, it was irritating enough for her to answer with a lot of conviction. So that is the role of religion, to make us believe. We borrow information from Shastras, from holy scriptures, from elders. Spirituality goes little above it. It transcends the religion. It says, okay, you believe in God, great. Now let's experience God. How to experience God in an incremental way? Can we experience that infinity in one go? Something to think about. Unless I myself become infinitely purer. Just as the argument shows, I don't know how many of you are familiar with science. Anyone knows Heisenberg? His principle was that when you are trying to measure electrons' position in an orbit, while measuring, you might be able to be successful in knowing the position, but you will not be able to measure the speed of the electron in that orbit, and vice versa. You can measure the speed, but you cannot locate the position. Why? Because the things of measurement, instrument of measurement was grosser than the electron itself. Had it been subtler, like when you bombard a beam which is subtler than electron, more refined than electron, then it will not either displace or increase or decrease the speed of electron. Likewise, when I am sensing something, when I am partaking food, for example, I am enjoying this food because of my senses. My senses recognize and appreciate the taste. But can those objects of senses appreciate my senses? They cannot. Ice cream cannot appreciate my senses. My senses can appreciate the ice cream. My mind can appreciate my senses. It can understand my senses. But my senses, being grosser than my mind, cannot understand the mind. Similarly, my intellect can understand, can grasp what my mind is all about, but my mind cannot understand my intellect. My consciousness can understand the intellect, but my intellect cannot understand the consciousness. Chit, Manas, Buddhi, Ahankar, you are all familiar with. So there is incremental refinedness as we go within, until that Karan Sarir is touched, causal body is touched. Spirituality is all about refining ourselves in such a way that the light that illuminates from this causal body is felt. Dr. Ranede's one challenge was this, that how to experience that spiritual energy, which is so refined, and make it felt palpably through your senses. There are many experiments being done in this modern science, with modern science, which measures things indirectly. For example, when you meditate, what happens when we meditate? even if the method is wrong, or even if the method may not take you to the ultimate God, still, even the most useless meditative practices, when you sit quietly with closed eyes in a peaceful house, your BP will drop, you become quiet, you become more peaceful. You don't have to be a perfect yogi to feel all these things. You can measure it. Physiological changes can be measured. Next, neurological changes. Next, perhaps we need to find the instrument how to measure the consciousness. Neurologically speaking, when we think, in this thinking also there are so many layers of thinking. When you think fast, like children, one question is not finished and they come up with the next bold question, and their mind is moving very fast. And thinking, with the rapid thinking especially, when there is fast electrical impulses going back and forth in your brain, what we call the synaptic exchanges, then what happens? The electrical current is produced, microelectric current is produced in the brain, and that electric current produces the magnetic field. This electromagnetic field can be measured. When you put those probes on your brain, on your head, and measure these changes in the electromagnetic field. For example, when a child, we hook him up with these probes, electrode probes, and measure his brain activities. Since he is thinking faster, there will be faster change in electromagnetic field. You understand? This will be so fast that in 1 second, there will be at least 35 plus signals. Now, if the child is made to relax and slow down a little bit, it will fall to a little lower level of numbers of waves, maybe 20 to 30. Almost all of us, when we are reading a book or enjoying music or sitting quietly, we go into a different mode, and it drops down to maybe 8 to 10 waves per second. In a dream state, what they call REM, before that, there is a different pattern. And in the deepest sleep state, it's called delta rhythm of the brain waves, where they oscillates only between 3 and 4 waves per second. Now, if meditation is very effective, every meditation will slow down these waves to a greater or a lesser extent. Some meditation will bring you down from 30, 40s to 20s. Some will be to 8 to 10. Very rare meditation will bring you down to 3 to 5 hertz per second. Very rare. And what does that mean? That when you are at sleep, you get 3 to 4 or 3 to 5 waves, delta waves per second. But in sleep, you are not aware. So, moment we reach this plateau of 3 to 4, your consciousness is zapped. Upanishad talks about Turiya state. How many know of Turiya state? Please raise your hands. At least in literature you must have read that. Turiya state. Turiya, Turiya. The fourth level of consciousness which our rishis knew. And what is this Turiya state? Scientifically speaking, that when you are walking or when you are meditating, at least during that meditation, you are able to dive deep into a state of samadhi and arrive at 3 to 4 or 3 to 5 hertz per second. But here, unlike sleep, you have not lost your awareness, you have not lost your consciousness, you are fully aware. That is the beauty of samadhi. And there is fifth level of consciousness which a very rare person they can arrive at, and that is turiyatit. Usse bhi aage. And when does that happen? Same thing, when few minutes of meditation that we perform morning and evening is allowed to extend during our waking hours. You are running a business, fine. You are cooking, you are teaching your children, you are conversing, you are romancing. But in all these activities, your delta wave will remain intact. That is turiyatit. So this is all about deciphering something, but science has yet to find out what is it that supports the consciousness. The only purpose of spirituality, according to my Guruji, is to evolve consciousness in such a way that we can merge with the ultimate divinity, the ocean of bliss. How to arrive at that? Kabir Sahib puts it very simply. He says it's like raindrops falling in the ocean. All these raindrops like Atman merging in the ocean like Paramatman, where Atman, Paramatman becomes one. But in order to achieve that, one has to have similar qualities. Suppose if oil was raining. Oil can never mix with the ocean. It will pollute the surface. It can remain floating forever and ever after. So, incremental purity means incremental merger in the ultimate. If I have to incrementally improve my consciousness, I have to also incrementally improve from within, purify myself, simplify myself. And does it require any sacrifice? Not at all. Meditation to me is like lying in the mother's lap with your closed eyes. Only thing is that your mother is not around. Now you substitute that with God and say, now I am floating in the arms of God. Close your eyes and feel that, see. You can feel the presence. In the comparative studies, I would like to say, once upon, at lunchtime, I think we touched upon this topic of how we did the experiment at Drexel University, where 20 students were taken for 3 months of trials. Maybe at ACPR we can deploy such a study, comparative study of many meditative systems that are prevalent today. You can divide the group of students and make them meditate for 1 week. 5 students, method A, 5 students, method B, 5 students, method C, and as many methods we can gather. Make them go through these methods. Next week, switch these methods and let them write the experiences and let them conclude it themselves. What works for them. Swap all the methods and then let them conclude and say, this is the best one that is prevalent in great India. So there will be a scientific study, unbiased. Then we can follow that method with confidence that there has been a proper scientific study done on a particular philosophy, on a particular practical approach to meditation. I would say have one method by Brahma Kumari, one by Isha Yoga, one by Art of Living, one by so many other institutions, one by Heartfulness. And in all these studies we found that whenever a person meditates and we deploy pranahuti, it embellishes, it beautifies the state of samadhi in a very fast way, something that would have taken you years to arrive at a level of consciousness. This will bring about such a state in just very few sessions of meditation. That is the beauty of pranahuti. But what is pranahuti as per Upanishads? There is one beautiful sloka, but I am not an expert in Sanskrit, so I cannot recite it. But it goes like this: just as our body needs annam, annasya annam, likewise there is manasya manam. We have 5 koshas. Some of you are maybe familiar with these koshas. Annamaya kosha, pranamaya, manomaya kosha, vigyanmaya kosha, and anandmaya kosha. Each kosha has its particular food, nourishment. Annamaya kosha, we know how to enrich it. Pranamaya kosha, manomaya, vigyanmaya, these are all related to our sukshma sharir, chit, manas, buddhi and ahankar. They can be nourished through contemplative approaches. We learn from each other, especially from elders. How can we nourish the last kosha? Our current sharir, our soul. What is the food for that? And that's where Upanishad says it is pranasya pranaha, one that nourishes the prana. But who can grant us access to such a flow of transmission of pranahuti? Only a yogi of caliber, gifted with such an art, can elevate our consciousness from wherever we are to the higher levels. It doesn't require any deservingness. It requires simple willingness to try and see if I can attain a higher level of consciousness. Vivekananda also used to say one fundamental thing in the Western world, that the purpose of our human existence is very simple. We all have a certain level of consciousness. Purpose is to allow it to become a broadband. Our consciousness is like a thin film of water. Imagine, thin film of water which is sandwiched between 2 giant oceans. That is the situation with our consciousness. He would say that allow your consciousness, that thin layer of consciousness, to soar higher into superconsciousness and allow it to dive deeper into a state of subconsciousness. Thereby you are widening your level of consciousness. And that is the only purpose. Body can never evolve. The time limits that we have, whatever we can live here on this planet, we can only age. We can never evolve. Soul doesn't need evolution. Soul is immutable, cannot be changed. So the entire exercise is to evolve that subtle body and help us purify ourselves so that we become absolutely transparent, become eligible like those pure raindrops falling in the ocean, merging with the ultimate. So this is my humble request, that don't be so dogmatic with religions. Every religion is trying to say I am better than the other. Why do we do what we do? We have lost most of the knowledge completely. We need to do research, scientific research is on that. What does it do? And most of our rituals in Hinduism are towards the health. Almost 99.99% are geared towards bettering our health. In Vedas and Upanishads, our rishis used to worship sky, Akash. Early rishis worshipped Akash, the formless. They could feel the presence of divinity in Akash, in the mountains, in the rivers, in the trees, in the animals. They could perceive that. So they worshipped everything. Today, we are left to worship rivers and animals and trees and mountains and sky without perceiving the feelings, without perceiving the presence of divinity. We simply bow our head down, but there is dryness inside. Anubhuti, experience is gone. Essenceless religion. Islam, Christianity and Judaism, these are monotheistic religions. They think they are the best. No one is better than them. There is so much of ego in there. So all are suffering. And one most common thing in all religion is this: if you do this, you'll go to heaven. If you don't do this, you'll go to hell. Only two instruments are used very favorably in their favor. Today afternoon I was talking with our Bade Bhaiya, Dr. Mohan Bhagwatji, that there are countries, especially outside, where temples are being built left and right, left and right. In one city perhaps you'll find 3 or 4, and hardly there is a population of 3,000 Indians. But so many temples. I was telling him, they are like avenues of income. Like you open one mall here, one mall there, another mall at the end of the city, and generate the income. Many trusts are being formed. They generate so much of income. Do you think there were temples in Vedic times? Do the Google search and let me know how many words you find, 1 or 2, let me know, and in which Upanishad or which Vedas. If you want to avoid, I can conclude it by saying there were no temples in Vedic times. There were 0 temples. Not the way we have them today. They had temples of a different nature, like dharmashalas, where passers-by, the pilgrims, can stay there overnight and move on. In fact, in Vishnu Sanhita, there is one sloka that says, Vedas should never be recited in a temple. Second place not to recite is in cemetery. Third place on the roadside. So they considered temples as low as a cemetery in those days, you see. Externalization of the most innermost being is a deviation that we cannot afford to have. I'll bring in earlier, before I started this, I brought in my mother's discussion with my mother. I will share with you with what I had with my father. And with that I will end the talk, because that's very important to understand. He would say, Bete, you have not seen how baby is being delivered. I said, no. As soon as baby arrives, baby begins to cry. And mother goes through a lot of pain, lots and lots of pain, he says. She cries. But moments mother hears the cry of a baby, the crying mother begins to smile. And that is once, perhaps the last time she would smile when the baby is crying. Rest of the life, child cries and mother also cries. But that's the only time she smiles. Why? Suppose if baby was not crying, that means doctors are in trouble. That till the baby try to stimulate the breathing and the heart stimulation. And even then baby does not cry. That means Jivan Data, the soul, life force, it does not matter what we call that entity, has not come along. Your Jivan Data is within you. And that Jivan Data is always with us. Moment this Jivan Data leaves, you are dead. My Jivan Data is not in Dwarka or Ayodhya. Mine is within myself. And so is everybody else's. And that's why our Shastras, they call it Antaryamin. One who dwells within. Google this also. Heart and Jivan Data or the soul in Vedas. Lord Krishna says, I dwell in every heart of a living being. And where are we searching? So how can there be peace? Change the direction, go inward. No less a person than Lord Krishna has spoken on this. And yet, even after we read Gita 1,000 times, we still want to bow at the feet, the so-called statues of Lord Krishna. I am not against Murti Punjan. Murti Punjan is good in the beginning. All our Shastras says this. From Akar, we have to move towards Nirakar. We are not going to destroy the murtis. We respect them. We honor them. But know that that is not God. It should be fully ingrained in ourselves that that is not God. I worship, I bow my head down as if God is there. And having experienced that, I must try to maintain that connection that I have established after bowing my head wherever I go. Thank you for your patient listening, and I look forward to our session now so that we can meditate and also listen to our Barabiya, Pujaniya, Mananiya. As I said, one of the greatest souls our Bharat Mata has gifted to us in the care, a guardianship of our culture, and make India great, rather greater than ever before. Thank you. Okay, time to meditate. First, I'll walk you through so that physically you are relaxed, and then we go into meditation with the help of Pranahuti I talked to you about earlier. Close your eyes very gently. And imagine that the healing energy from Mother Earth is entering my feet and helping me relax the whole system. Permit this energy to enter your feet, your ankles and lower legs, helping them relax. Permit this energy to rise higher in your calf muscles and your knees. Feel them getting relaxed. Now let this energy rise above in your thighs and the hip area. Now your lower back and the upper back, feel them getting relaxed. Allow this energy to move in the front, your abdominal area and chest. Feel them getting relaxed. Now your shoulders. Feel them almost melting away and becoming lighter. Permit this energy to rise above, further into your biceps and forearms and wrists, palms and fingers. Now the neck muscles. Permit this energy to relax your lower jaws, all the muscles in your mouth, your lips, your facial muscles, nose, eyelids and eyebrows, your forehead, your earlobes, top of your head. Scan your system from top to toe and revisit any area which is which may be stressed. Help it relax. Now we are ready to begin meditation. Draw all your attention towards the heart. And think only once that the source of divine light is in my heart. And I am meditating on this source of divine light. If your thoughts wander here and there, gently bring it back to this idea of presence of source of divine light in the heart. So we'll continue with this meditation for another 20 minutes or so, until I say that's all. Oh, that's all. Reflect on your condition, your inner state, and see if there is a difference between when you sat before meditation and how you feel now after the meditation. Notice that difference and try to hold on to it as much as you can. Thank you.